Welcome guys, Darren here again with another box review. This time I'm reviewing a box of 1988 Score baseball, or the only thing Score made in 1988. But this is one of those great benchmark sets over the entire history of cards. So I was kind of intrigued to do this and find out kind of how a box would go. First off, they did do box bottoms in 1988. Score did box bottoms, and these are just like with what Topps was doing. These do have the card backs on the inside. So in this case, I got the card box with Cal Ripken Jr. and Don Mattingly. And they actually, for here, they have one of the little inserts, which is also included in here. In this case, the trivia for it is regarding red. It's an event I'm not too familiar with. At any rate, so that's the box, pretty big box. And the cards themselves in 1988, the Score design is it's actually a good design. It's not well made. And so if you take the time to look at it, it is something you can really appreciate. But this is one of those situations where the cards were not field tested at all. But the card backs, this is what was really, truly great about this card set. The card stock itself and the card backs, because they're all very, very well built. They have full color on them. They have really good images of the player on the card backs. So these cards were a true benchmark set in many different ways. But the cards themselves have kind of an interesting quality where the way the Score did their sets for the first 5 years was they did colors for a different color for every 110 cards. So cards 1 through 110 were purple, and then 111 through 220 were blue, and then red, and then green, and then yellow, and then orange. And the yellow and orange gets a little bit, they kind of run together. On the card back, you have to look at whether the text is, let's see, are these all orange? Basically, you have to look at whether the text box is orange or green. That's about the only difference on the card back that you can really see between them. But for the most part, the card numbers will tell you, but that's where the real problem with these cards come from, is card numbers, which I'll get to in a second. So at any rate, there are a ton of cards in the box, but you're definitely not going to get a complete set. I got 2/3 of the way to a set. So I did pretty well, but you're not going to get a set anyway, so 2/3 is about right. And they the stars, and the way that they come in the packs is the trivia cards. So Score came from the company that made Sportflix. So this is the trivia cards that they inserted into Score that were a part of the same family, and they're much smaller. They're actually inserted here inside the packs. So the packs come as kind of a brick of cards, and then you've got this one card that doesn't fit, that's smaller, and that was what I'd seen in the box. And then the cards are broken down into where you have the cards are all in numerical order. So you start off with the purple, and then the blue, and then the red, the green, the yellow, and the orange. And the card numbers on the back are all in order too, unless the card, they have the numeric sequence. If they start off at the end of the number sequence, then they start over at the beginning. So that you kind of run into that when you're collating the set. Basically, once you turn these over, and you put a couple of these next to each other, you just use all the card numbers in order to collate the set. It actually goes pretty cleanly. But when you open the pack, I don't really think that the way that the colors read for you is all that intriguing. It's kind of a boring look, but what I found was interesting was as I was collating the set and I was getting an entire block of color together, it really looked cool, and it was kind of an exciting thing to watch the set form. So that was kind of the strength with these packs, was or putting together the set, was the fact that it was fun to watch the set evolve, although opening the pack itself wasn't all that interesting. And all of the later on, Score would do different, they would do 4 different packs. For the designs would be 4 different designs for each release. In this case, they all look the same, although on the card back they have, or on the pack back, they have the some send away offer. There are 4 different ones of those, so technically there are 4 different packs, but for the most part they all look the same. Now in the set they have I got most of the stars in the set. I did not get Nolan Ryan, and I did not get the Tom Glavine rookie card. Otherwise, I did pretty well with getting just about one of everyone. One Mattingly, one McGuire, one Ozzie Smith, one Schmidt, one Puckett. I got 3 Ryne Sandbergs, and that was kind of the thing. Was usually I wouldn't get 2. Usually I would get about 3 cards of somebody if I got more than one. So I got Jose Canseco, Matt Williams, Ken Caminiti, again 3. So his rookie card I got 3 of. I got 2 Rafael Palmeiros. I got a Barry Bonds. I got 2 Gwynns. I got an Ellis Burke rookie. I got Cal Ripken Jr. And then Ron Gant rookie. 1 Mark McGuire special card, and then 2 Cal Ripken Juniors, and then I got 3 Big Mac highlights. So those were the cards of note that I got out of the set. And one thing I was very pleased with is the fact that these cards, at least from the box I opened, they are almost all very, very well centered. If not perfectly centered, they're almost dead center. And that was a really nice thing to get, because as you're dealing with cards in 90, 91, and 92, the centering is all over the place. It is a big mess. But in these packs, they came out really well. Now the card set is designed primarily with player cards, through all the colors, except in the yellow, you do have a series of cards for Reggie Jackson's career. And I got I think it's the complete set of cards for his career. And then they have, at the end of the set, in the orange, they have rookie prospects, and then they have a couple of cards that are basically showing star players, and then they have highlights from throughout the season. So those are the specialty cards, the subsets that they have in the set, and it's just enough that it's kind of interesting. It's not too much, but it is a decent amount. But mostly you're just looking at star players spread out across a pretty big set. It's a 660 card set. The trivia cards I always really enjoyed the trivia cards, because when I started collecting, it was right at the end of their doing the trivia cards, so it was fun. And this was before inserts, so Fleer would have some inserts, Topps would have some inserts, but for the most part, inserts were pretty rare. So just getting something in a pack was really great. And the trivia cards, the front is pretty basic, but on the card back, they actually do have some really interesting topics that they talk about. And so you have Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, and Yaz leads Sox Chase, and so they have some interesting little titles and then interesting topics within. So these are actually really cool. If you're not familiar so much with baseball history, these give you a cool little, it's designed for kids, but it works no matter what age you have. But it has a cool quality about bringing pieces of Major League Baseball history forward, and that's really the key to how baseball works in baseball cards. So it's perfectly suited for that, and I think that overall it works really well. Now, I have the set, so I didn't care about how close I got, but I did get about 2/3 of the way to the set. So that was that was a good turnout, and it wasn't laden with doubles. Actually, there weren't all that many doubles, so that was good as well, because while it's nice to get a couple of doubles, getting 3 Ken Caminiti rookie cards is nice, but I got no Tom Glavine rookie cards. And so the fact that I missed out on so few cards of note in the box is really good. And again, the quality of the cards came out really well, all things considered. There are some minor little dings. The box is kind of old, so that can kind of happen, but very few dings. The cards came out pretty much dead on. The quality of the cards is what this was a groundbreaking set for the kind of card, the quality of the cards. So there's a slight abrasion quality to how the cards were cut on the side. That's just the way the cards are. That's of minor note. Overall, the condition came out really well, so I did like that. But it is not an invigorating card set to look at, because the way that the card images come out is not really exciting. They still had to figure out how that worked. For the time, this was a very impressive card set, but it was more about the card design as overall, not about the pictures. They weren't quite at the level that Topps was at for pictures. Some of the images are good, but they're not great in terms of how they work with the card overall. And that you can kind of feel that. I think that the 89 cards have a slightly better relationship to the image. But other than that, this was a neat thing to do. That was really kind of the thing. This is the beginning of cards as we knew them in the 90s, and that's the great value of this card set. So it was fun to experience that. It was fun to check it out. It's not an expensive box. If you just want to sit down and go through a box of cards and explore what they were like, this is one of those boxes that works really well in that regard, because you're not asking too much. And it's always fun to have cards on the bottom of the box. That's something that didn't happen enough. So that was another big plus. And one other note, I apologize for everything shifting here. After I finished this video, I started working on another, and I realized something really important to talk about with these cards, and so I'm going back and I had to set everything back up so I could go back and talk about it. But on the card back, the card number is really difficult to read. Now, if you have great light and you have great eyes, that works fine. Myself, I don't have 20/20 vision anymore. As you get older, that just kind of happens. But I still have good vision, and yet with the lighting I had for most of the time I was working with these cards, I probably dropped a couple of prescriptions in terms of what I have left in my eyes. You have to have good light to be able to read them, because they are a nightmare. And it gets really tough when you get into like the 500s and the 400s, where things can really kind of run together. So do be careful that the card numbers are miserable. I mean, in the case of these cards here, the card, you can't even read the number. You can't. So it's going to be a beast to work with the numbers. But just be aware, my emphasis is have great light. You really are going to need that with these cards. It is surprisingly bad. But other than that, yeah, that's basically what I have to say about these cards. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.